Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel and to another Cheating Lefty disc review. Today we're taking a look at the DGA Vortex, so if you wanted to learn more about the Vortex, you are in the right place. To start us off, the Vortex is an understable fairway driver and is the first disc that was collaborated on between Catrina and DGA, so I'm really excited to see what other discs they come out with. When looking at the profile of the Vortex, I have to say that the Pro lines tend to be on the flatter side versus these limited edition SP runs they did do have a slight little bit of dome to it. Because it's a Speed 7 fairway driver, it has a very thin rim, which is amazing for control, so you only have to worry about the angle that you're keeping the Vortex on, and you can always trust that you're going to get a clean release. And because the Vortex is an understable fairway driver, there have been a lot of comparisons drawn up to the Discraft Sting, which actually we will take a look at a little bit later on in this video. So now it's time to answer the most important question: how does the Vortex fly? And for us medium to slower arms, we're definitely going to be able to get a lot more variety of shots out of the Vortex than, say, players with very fast arms. For those players, it's going to be mainly a tailwind bombing disc, a very big, throw it on almost on knife hyzer, get it to flip up, ride absolutely dead straight, and then maybe minimal fade at the very end. That's what it's going to do for the big arms, and really the only usage for it. Versus us medium slower arms, we can get this to hold a lot of different lines. You can get it to hold a hyzer, you may have to power down a little bit on it, but you can get it to hold a hyzer line. You can get it to hyzer flip. This is a great tool for hyzer flipping for players of all skill levels. If you want to learn how to hyzer flip, pick yourself up a Vortex. It is so easy to do. And when thrown flat, you're going to get a nice straight shot for about the first 50% of the flight, and then it's just going to get this big massive turn, and depending on how much air that you give it at the very end, that will determine on whether or not it's going to hold that turn all the way to the ground, or if you're going to get a little bit of fight back towards the very end. Now, if you are going to put this on an anhyzer line, I do strongly suggest that you throw this high. You don't want to throw it low on an anhyzer. You want to do something more like this, where it's going to get that turn, but then you're giving it enough time to level itself out and fight its way back. Sometimes if you throw it on an anhyzer low, it's going to just kind of hold all the way to the ground, and if it's too low, it's just going to almost turn into an inadvertent roller. So definitely put some height on it when you're throwing it on an anhyzer line. Out on the course, I love using the Vortex for hyzer flipping in tunnel shots. For hyzer flip, I know I can rip into it on a big steep hyzer line, get it to just pop up flat and just hold straight the entire way with almost no fade whatsoever. Or just throw it on a slight hyzer, let it flip up, and just let the flight of the Vortex match the path of the fairway. And for those players that aren't ready for big drivers, this can still hit a lot of distance for medium slower arms. You can use this as your distance disc because of just how much glide it has. It is just going to keep on going. Being such a new disc, the Vortex does not come in too many plastic types yet, just SP and Pro line, and when comparing the two, the SP that we've seen I think is, I don't want to say more overstable of the two, but it definitely has the stronger finish at the end. The prototypes felt a lot flippier, mainly just because they didn't have too much fight at the very end, versus the SP, again, if you give it a little bit extra height, it's going to have a little bit harder finish, but you don't have to worry, they are both very, very understable. In fact, most of the differences come again when it's to the profile, as I mentioned earlier. The prototypes, a little bit flatter in the hand, versus the SP had just a little bit, just smidge more dome to it. So I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are comparing the Vortex to the Discraft Sting, and now with the Lefty lines, we're actually taking a look at them side by side. And you know, I have to say, throwing these, I do think the Sting, I mean, they almost look like identical flight paths. The only major difference between them is that the Vortex, I think, just gets a little bit more turn in that mid-flight. Again, very similar shot shapes. However, I just feel like the Vortex is maybe like a slightly seasoned Sting. The Sting is going to be a little bit more overstable out of the box, just a smidge harder to hyzer flip. It's going to hold a hyzer just a little bit better when thrown on a pure hyzer line, but they are very comparable. Faster arms, again, I don't think they're going to notice any difference between these two discs whatsoever, but for us slower medium arms, we definitely can tell there's a little bit of a difference. It's not much, but it is there. Alright everyone, so that is the DGA Vortex. If you haven't already, please subscribe. What are you doing? Subscribe to the channel if you like seeing disc reviews. Also, be sure to follow me over on Instagram. And if you liked what you saw out of the Vortex, be sure to visit discgolf.com. Go get yours today. Till next time everyone, keep banging them chains.